MBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 2nd of December. Well, after the big monster move, really didn't get a whole lot of action today. And that's not surprising after you've had such a big jump. We can see from an MBI reading, not all that spectacular. It's just sort of holding up above that 33, but still above yellow. So it's still a continuation. More significantly on the DOC, green moving over cyan, shorts just not even taking part in this. And this was part of that gold rising that we saw in the shakeout and the continuation move from there. So we expected some positive extremes to fill. And typically with a move like this, you can get up to 50% retrace. This was much smaller simply because of the magnitude of interest, but we knew there would be some fill back, and sure enough, there was. From an NQ, identical. Looking pretty solid, and actually with that positive shakeout, it's a huge improvement for the NASDAQ from a readings standpoint. TLT boosting. This is expectation that the Fed is going to be cutting rates and not proceeding with any move, which is an interesting one. So that's kind of counter to what's been said, but I think that it's the indication that the economy, their view, is going to soften much faster than some people realize. Oil holding up, kind of off its highs, hit that 50% mark, but still within a bullish move. So we may see oil continuing to rise off that significant crude draw. Interestingly enough, gold skyrocketing because it's an indication that inflation, in their view, from a gold trader standpoint. So you get both sides of this. Some people think that inflation is not tamed. Others saying that we're headed for a deflationary cycle. It's a complicated setup right now. There's some uncertainties in this dynamic, but of course, that softening and the expectation for Fed weakening has bolstered the euro, which has put it back into that safety zone area now that it's sort of like out of danger, so to speak, as long as it's holding up in that range. Anything above that 103 range is pretty strong. Once it broke over here, it created a lot of interest, and so that may be enough to, unless there's some other eurozone situation which doesn't appear to be taking place at this particular point. Crypto, sad news there with that MBI magenta pivot lower. A little bit of softness. It's got to go below the yellow though, and particularly if it goes below the 25, then we would be looking for that full press back down to the 0%, but it hasn't done that yet. So, and even worse from an ETH standpoint, except for White's already made this monster move, but Magenta's still holding on. So it's sort of keeping it uh, in place. So that's enough to have just given it a little bit of support. But any pivot of Magenta now would be most likely across below yellow and definitely below the 33, which would also indicate that it's going to fade. So from the buy signal that took place on the 50K ES, it exited, where was that, all the way up at 84 from the entry at the 39. So that was 100 points. Not bad. Can't complain about that. So we had marked some of the positive extremes that potential for fillback and peaked out here right at that previous algo 4103. Hit it twice, couldn't do anything around it. Then retraced back to the 80 range, and then came even a little bit lower down here in the little over the 60, right around 55, was it? Yeah, 59-ish was the close. So pretty nice signal, though. I mean, it was just beautiful. And then we just caught some strength. This is a tough one here where you get a clean signal that looks like it's coming lower, and then Magenta pivots back up. Still clear enough to, get out of any situation at that particular point, and then it's just a matter of once it gets over the 23%, then you can look for it that long, and then we just kind of traded back and forth within those little ranges each time, just being bought up. So it was just a matter of lightly filling out some of the soft spots and the normal retrace. So I would consider that to be, bullishly healthy. End of day was sort of in that soft sell signal, and we'll continue to see probably more range. I would think that it's going to have to be clear with data, but with such conflicting data, you've got people on both sides equally positioning, and it's sort of they got screamed out of it on the long with the soft talk, but then the economy's got to be there and represent in order for it to be justifiable. So that's a secondary item, and so you just go with what is. And I think that we're just going to be a little more back and forth here, but still leaning towards the upside of things until there's some major significant news that indicates that there's a significant softening of economic data beyond the earliest reports. We just got the beginning stages of reduced number of job offerings, things like that. If that expands, then the bear side of things would be a little bit stronger. As always, though, look for me on Skype chat. Trade well. We'll talk to you later.